But welcome, and this is being recorded, so it's a good thing because this is going to end up going on our website and be available to people. So I think the program is, you're going to see this program is awesome. I give kudos to Sue Fassler for putting it together, pulling it all together. Delaney too, yeah. Yeah, totally. But anyhow, let's get into it. We really want to have some discussion for those who are here who can participate, but here's the group. I'm going to have each one of them introduce themselves as they get up, but you can see them here. These are the speakers. Some are not here. Justin is not able to join us today, and Kate was exposed. Hopefully she doesn't have COVID, but she's really bummed that she wasn't able to make it. So, but everybody else is speaking, and they will be introducing themselves as they come up. We also have some student leaders who will be speaking, and we have a few that are not here. So for those that are on the list speaking, again, they're going to introduce themselves. We have two that are not here. Sasha Farrow, who was with us years ago, went away from ESF and has come back. She's volunteering with us. And Savannah Wright from Landscape Architecture is helping us with some design work. I'm psyched about having those two added to our team. And for those of you who don't know me, I should have done this first. I'm Mark Lichtenstein, the Executive Operating Officer, and I'm also, one of my roles is the Chief Sustainability Officer for the college. That's me right there, in case you didn't notice. All right, so just for me, because I want to really get to the meat of the program, because what our team has put together here, again, is just substantial and detailed and super excellent. So I thought about this last night, what I wanted to focus on. I just have these two slides. So I'm going to just run through this really quick. So I start these with action words purposely because all of this is something that's in progress. Everything we're doing is in progress, and they're not in any particular order of priority, just kind of what came to mind first. The first is a goal for us is to retain our STARS platinum status. STARS is kind of the industry standard that we have in academia, particularly in North America, for measuring academic sustainability efforts. Platinum is the highest you can go. We're just over the edge of platinum. Gold would be just below us. So we're right at that edge. And so this isn't about chasing credits. It's a very important roadmap for us. And for instance, if we, this year don't do better with local food and more sustainable food options, we could slip. If we are not successful in completely eliminating single-use plastics over the next couple of years, we could slip. So there are a couple of things here that are right on the edge for us, but it's a very prestigious thing. We're one of only, it changes frequently how many academic institutions have this status, but I think there's like 13 right now. So it's a pretty prestigious status. We want to realize our zero waste goals. I'm not going to steal anybody's thunder on this because we're going to get into this a little bit more, and elimination of single-use plastics. We want to continue our global commitments and contributions. And this one, I just want to lay out a couple for you because I'm not sure everybody realizes it, but we are signatory to a number of very important things. And I'm not going to get into the details on this. If you are interested in this and you are also interested in STARS and really seeing what we're doing, we are able to give you access to our STARS submittal, which is a substantial document with all kinds of information in it. You can become an observer of that document. So you can let us know afterwards, and we'll do that because everything I'm about to say here is in that document. So here's just a sampling. We are signatory to the America is Still In effort, which relates to climate change, the Earth Charter, the Talora signatory, Post Landfill Action Network, Zero Carbon Coalition, Zero Waste International Alliance, Wellbeing Economic Alliance, University Global Coalition, University Global Compact, U.S. Climate Alliance, Beyond Plastics effort out of Bennington College. And this college, through me, represents the entire State University of New York system on the COP effort, the International Panel on Climate Change. So we are the official representative to that effort, which is a really big deal. And we were involved in the America Zero Carbon Action Planning effort, which I'll talk about later. Those are just a sampling of our commitments. And I think that we probably have made more commitments than any other academic institution in the country. And it's not just about signing a commitment. There are obligations that come along with all of those that we have to comply with. We have a goal of achieving net carbon negative through our operations. This is really important that I added this. We could do it right now if we took credit for all the carbon sequestration of our 25,000 acres of forest. That's not the right way to do it. through our operations. So we do have that goal and it will be achieved. We are very concerned about the third leg of sustainability, which I argue is not emphasized enough, and that's social equity. We want to accelerate our efforts there. Those are things like environmental justice. We have a goal by the end of this year to transform all of our electricity use to 100% renewable electricity. We also have a goal to follow the UN Sustainable Development Goals. That's what this little pin is. These are the colors of the 17 goals. So be looking for more on that. We are going to learn today what this first one means, implementing well-building portfolio standard from Lexi. We want to increase opportunities for faculty, staff, and students in all that we do. And you're going to see a plethora of students here today, just representing what we can do. We can do much more. We want to create unique, healthy, and welcoming and sustainable spaces. You're going to hear more about that today as well. And serving communities beyond ESF, that's what ESF is about, experiential learning, service learning. That's part of sustainability as well. And we want to provide, as I said earlier, more local, healthy, and sustainable food options. I added this last bullet just about an hour ago because I don't think that we emphasize this enough or do this enough. And it's because we're so busy doing, we don't spend a lot of time, as much time as I think we should, telling our stories. And our has quote marks around it because that's collectively everybody's stories. We have a great partnership with Planet Forward at George Washington University, where they're experts in storytelling. Many of our students have participated in that. We have a digital storytelling studio here. We have a lot of expertise in how to tell stories, our communications and marketing office. So this is something I would like us to focus more on this year as well. So those are just some overarching goals and commitments. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Natasha. Natasha, I'd ask you if you could introduce yourself when you come up and what program you're in. Natasha.
Hi everyone, my name is Natasha Brawl and I'm in my second semester at ESF, currently pursuing my master's in environmental studies. And I think it's I started working with the sustainability division last year and I'm very thrilled to be here. I actually prepared myself for like Oscars of sustainability. And I told Sue and Delaney about it this morning, like I'm going to be going to the Oscars of sustainability. So I have my notes here ready for that. First of all, Mark, thank you for giving me this platform to speak about my work and my experience with the sustainability team so far. And of course, the future of sustainability. I also want to thank two powerhouses, two special women that I got to work with very closely in the last couple of months that made all of this great work possible, Sue and Delaney. There's a famous expression that says, bloom where you're planted. Sue and Delaney, thank you for being my sunshine and water. The beauty and the freedom that you would see in these pledges, which are on the website now, is actually theirs. It's their beauty. And so graduation pledge will be sent out to all outgoing students each semester as a part of the graduation packet. These pledges are, of course, optional to take, and they will also be presented to all incoming students, just like graduate students. They will be able to sign it online. And a link to the graduation pledge will be included at the bottom of every newsletter to be reminded of students of the promise each semester and engage more students within the community. So I also want to move away the focus from me and my work and talk about the state of sustainability and what it means to me. So I know sustainability is not like the buzzword, but whenever I think about it, and while I was preparing this, I just thought about three things. How do I make it easy and actionable? How do I make it accessible? And how do I make it fun? And I think if you keep just these three things in mind, you can make the transition very seamless. So initially, the idea was to just create pledges, and later on, we turned it into how do we create category-wise pledges? And then I thought about, how do we make sure that incoming students are like held, and how about we create a document about how to keep the pledge for incoming students. And for the fun part, we added infographics. As for the state of sustainability, I think what's instrumental for our continued success is a two-eyed seeing approach. And I'm borrowing this term from in the indigenous communities, and inclusivity. When I say two-eyed seeing, I'm of course talking about how we can continue to keep looking things at both micro and macro level. Of course, at the micro level, we're just talking about how do we make sure building things from like ground up. And I think the best ideas and creations come from there. And when I talk about the macro level, I'm just talking about how do we constantly evaluate things from a evaluation lens point and be making adjustments. With inclusivity, I really mean, of course, we wouldn't have good health, security, and peace if we keep destroying the environment. But the same is also true if we exclude marginalized communities or minority groups. We wouldn't have a safe or a healthy environment either in that case. So I feel like inclusivity is also a very key element of sustainability. And that's also one of the reasons why I included the non-human element aspect while creating these pledges, because we don't have like special privileges as humans just because we have language. So I'm ensured that I add a non-human element and beyond words beings in these pledges that I created. And lastly, I would disagree with Descartes' famous quote that said, "I think, therefore I am." But I think what truly defines sustainability is we are, therefore I am. So I want to thank Mark, Sue, and Delaney, because it's because you guys are, I am. Thank you. And I'll see you at the ground. Sorry guys, I got too excited. Sachi.
Hi, everyone. I will be nowhere near as eloquent as Mark and Natasha were, but that's all right. So yeah, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sachi. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a senior in environmental study hoping to graduate this May. I have been involved with the sustainability office since my freshman year. And for the past 2 years, I've been president of Green Campus Initiative. And for the past almost 1 year, I've been the sustainability coordinator for the National Recycling Coalition, which are all open when I graduate. So please, if you're interested in this work, take that over. So a little bit about the Green Campus Initiative. Our goal is to implement sustainable initiatives, reduce waste, and support students. We have this lovely little infographic on the right-hand side about some of the work that we do from a broad perspective. So we focus on compost education, recycling, and we have a garden at the Lafayette Field Station. We also do a lot of zero waste DIYs. And we like to have opportunities for speakers to come in. So yesterday, if you were able to attend, we did one on recycling education as well. And then that's just a picture of some of our members. And two of the most famous things that I guess we've been doing almost every year is the Compost Cab, which is a weekly compost collection system for students living off campus run by students. So it's kind of like a carpool situation where you volunteer to pick up compost 1 week out of the semester, and then the rest of the week someone else will come and pick it up for you. So it's really nice to have students be involved to kind of take that extra step of being sustainable when living off campus, because I mean, we have composting on campus now, but when you go home, you want to keep that moving forward. And then the other thing that I'm very proud of is the Period Project. So this is by no means just done by Green Campus Initiative. It's been historically in collaboration with the Sustainability Office, the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and the Baobab Society to provide free menstrual products for the campus in a sustainable fashion. So obviously, I mean, I am just a believer that this should be free to begin with. And luckily, I think SU has recently started taking upon that as well. But we also want to be mindful that it's in a sustainable fashion. So the two methods of that are either having a reusable menstrual cup or to have reusable pads. So GCI offers usually the pads, and then the sustainability office gets or has offered funding to do the cups. So yeah, that's some of the work that GCI has done. And again, I'll be graduating in May. So if anyone wants to take this over, please talk to me. So yeah, thank you. Oh. And we have a student garden. I'm so sorry. I'm so horrible at this. In my defense, we have not been as involved with the student garden because there was a whole pandemic. But we do have work study positions with Justin Heavey for students who'd like to get paid for helping out with the garden. And if you are not eligible for work study, you can still always come as a member or as a student. It's welcome to everybody. It's really beautiful. So yeah, sorry about that.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lauren Jones. As of this semester, I am the director of the sustainability team for the Undergraduate Student Association. I have been a member of sustainability team since freshman year, and I'm very excited to be taking on the role of leader. And I have also been a member of GCI since freshman year. Sachi has taught me so much, and the sustainability staff have been teaching me so much. And I'm looking forward to continuing to learn and grow. In my final year, I'll be a senior next year, so that's very exciting. I can continue doing my work around campus. So sustainability team, as I mentioned, is a committee within USA, and we have this interesting dynamic where we almost function as our own club. We identify areas around campus where we can engage in student projects, where maybe we could, if we notice something like, oh, we're generating a lot of food waste that's in the trash, like how can we educate people on composting and how to recycle properly and stuff like that. And we communicate regularly with the sustainability staff. We have awesome sustainability division meetings where I get to hear about everyone's accomplishments, and we can kind of like serve as a bridge between the staff and the student body. So what we've been doing this year is a lot of waste audits. So basically we dig through the campus trash. We take a snapshot of what a day of trash looks like once a month. It's dirty work, but trust me, it's very fulfilling and very cool to see the results build over time. Right now, as you can see on the graph on here, we've been fluctuating around 30% diversion, so that 30% contamination. So that's basically the stuff that ended up in the trash that could have been recycled or composted. So we basically have like a massive trash sort out. And if you're not really into getting down and dirty, we have been doing waste games, one of our most famous being Wasketball, and we're actually putting that on. We put it on today and tomorrow, 10:30 to 12:30. So we basically show people items and ask them, is this trash recycling compost? And it's a lot of fun and you can win a prize. So this semester, we've also been taking on the Move Out program for the first year, which has been a very daunting yet exciting endeavor, and it will be very fulfilling. So basically the program takes donations from people who maybe don't want certain items in their dorms or can't take it with them. And we collect all of these things during finals week and we store them. over the summer so that we can give them back to people in the fall, like the incoming freshmen. We do a donate what you can kind of thing where people kind of like bring in whatever they can pay for, and we donate those to charity. So that's a really exciting initiative that will be happening during finals week. We're still looking for volunteers for that. So if you're free on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Friday of finals week, I'll be doing a big outreach push soon about that. And looking ahead for next year, we have been finding a lot of interesting things with the waste audit. So we want to do a recycling audit and see like just how well campus is recycling, because those rules are super duper complicated, overly complicated. And we want to start, we've been doing a lot of waste projects with Sue, but maybe diversifying into other projects like energy with Michael. Thank you, everybody. I believe that is the end of my slides.
Hello, everyone. I am Lexi. I am a senior in the Sustainable Energy and Construction Management program, also hopefully graduating in May very soon. And also up until very recently, I was the president of USA. So first I'm going to talk about USA's reusable plate program, which is now completely run by USA and housed in Bray 2 on the basement level with our humble little dishwasher that you can see there. Thank you to Mark and Facilities for getting that for us to be able to bring this reusable plate program back. And this is something that's available to any group on campus, so it doesn't just have to be a student club or a student group. It's available to, you know, staff groups and events as well. So we really want everyone to use it. And it includes not only just the little plates that you see in the picture, but it also includes cups. We have a limited number of coffee mugs that people have donated. The new really awesome cups that are in the back that I think we just got maybe today or very recently. And then we also have silverware, forks, spoons, and knives. So we really have anything that you could need. And we're looking into getting bowls as well if you have some event with soup or ice cream or something. And this is supporting USA's policy that prohibits clubs from buying single-use dining products. So we're giving them, you know, instead of buying single-use products, you know, even if they're compostable or things like that, providing a reusable alternative to that. And then I'm also very excited to talk about the Well Building Standard, which is part of the International Well Building Institute, which is something that will be coming to ESF. So to start off, what is WELL? Because I think a lot of people aren't super familiar. It's a little bit newer of a program. And in this way, I like to explain it simply is that it's very similar to LEED, where LEED is a building rating system that focuses more on the building's impact outside on the environment and the community and its, you know, environmental impacts and energy use. WELL is focused on the building's impact inside on the people. So how are the people experiencing the building, you know, from things like air quality all the way to things like nutrition. And it is, you know, a very scientifically based program based on a lot of research and studies and things like that that brought it together and found the key areas that I'll be talking about. And what it focuses on, like it says, is people first places. So it seems kind of crazy, but people on average spend 90% of their time indoors, which means that, you know, our indoor environment and the spaces that we're spending that in have a huge impact on our health overall. And they've broken it down into these kind of percentages of what determines health. So obviously we know things, you know, like genes and medical care and your lifestyle affect your health a lot, but really your physical environment and your social environment affect your health more than all of those things combined. So this is really focusing on improving that huge aspect of people's health. And the way they do that is broken down into these 10 concept areas. So, you know, things like simply like air and water and light, things that we kind of already know about. It also looks into things like nourishment and movement and mind and community, things that are, you know, sometimes missing from a lot of these sustainability and green building rating systems. So a lot more people focused and a lot more of a holistic approach to health and well-being. And this is also, even though it's newer, it's a global community. There's, you know, tens of thousands of projects and billions of square feet in countries all across the globe that have implemented this program, and professionals that have been engaged with it. So it's really exciting that we are jumping onto this as well. And we are one of the few academic institutions that has started this. So we'll be kind of one of the first to do this, especially on such a large scale. So that's really exciting as well. And then how are we going to do it at ESF? We're going to do it through something called the WELL portfolio. So within WELL, you can certify buildings, you know, similarly to LEED, where you're just certifying one building at a time. Or for places, you know, like ESF, where we have quite a few buildings, you can do a portfolio, which will encompass all of the buildings that we have, and look at them kind of on a whole. And then also within that portfolio, we'll be able to certify buildings individually. So this is just kind of what I explained. It's more of a comprehensive program. It's more, you know, both cost and time effective, since a lot of the concepts we'll be looking at are going to be applied to all of the buildings. And then we can break things down individually that don't apply to all of them. So what about everything else that all of these people have been talking about that we're doing? WELL does a really good job of providing what they call crosswalks. So looking at a lot of different sustainability, you know, rating systems and programs that already exist, and saying, okay, this is what you have for this, and this is how you can apply it to WELL, and vice versa. So we're not going to be doing, you know, double work or anything like that. We'll be able to take what we already have to help us with WELL, and then also take things that we use for WELL to do other things. So it'll really be, you know, beneficial to the campus overall and our other sustainability goals. And I believe that is my last slide. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Diana Jaramillo and I'm the newly appointed Facilities Director for SUNY ESF. And this is week 7. So first I would like to talk to you guys about what we have under construction currently at ESF. I'm sure you're familiar with some of the projects that are here. The renovations for the new Moon Cafe in Moon Library. This will be providing a small food operation service here for the campus. We'll also be providing storefronts at the library. We're hoping to open this by fall of 2022. We are also working on renovations on Bray Hall on the 4th floor. We are in the process of providing a new HVAC equipment for the 4th floor, which will meet the current needs of that space. It will provide additional piping for the rest of the building, but we'll have to provide new equipment for that. The picture that you see here at the bottom left is showing where the new cooling unit will be located outside of Walter Hall as well. We're also providing new natural light while remaining the existing skylights by providing some solar heat gain. I'll show you some more pictures of that in the next picture. And obviously the big renovation on campus is the Marshall Hall major renovation and additions. The 2 pictures on the far right are the current renderings that we have. On one side, you can see the new bridge addition to Marshall, and then also the tower with the vertical stairway. The picture at the top here showing, it's a historic picture how Marshall used to have a bridge. So all of these major renovations on campus ongoing will help. They're all being done with sustainability in mind, whether they're achieving a LEED certified rating and just providing better air, thermal comfort, and natural lighting. So Marshall Hall will receive LEED certification once it's completed. I've also like to add some of the icons here from the WELL program that Lexi was sharing us about. So once Marshall is completed, we will have a significant portion of all the WELL categories as well, with air, water, light, movement. You know, Marshall will, some of the things that you really can't see in these pictures is the amount of social spaces and gathering spaces that Marshall will provide. It's amazing what the architects in conjunction with our facilities team have been able to create social community spaces in Marshall Hall, things that were not available before. You would have just a long corridor with classrooms and offices. Now there will be gathering spaces within that. And that not only provides movement, but it provides community as well. Here's the pictures I was telling about Bray Hall. I really like these images because it shows the before and after. So in the 4th floor of Bray, there were these pretty nice skylights, but unfortunately the solar heat gain was too much. It was originally designed to be storage/plant room, but now we're trying to use it for public use. We've opened up the skylight so you can get natural light, but in order to control the solar heat gain, there's going to be a film provided so it's not super hot. But the big portion for this project is really the HVAC, so the thermal comfort and air for the occupants. So it'll have heating, cooling, and fresh air. It sounds like basic needs, but it was lacking in this part of the building, given the era from the building was built. So this picture, I feel like, tells you a lot of what's going on in the 4th floor, right? You can't take a picture of air, but you can see the diffusers in here. So that's what's under construction. There's lots of going on also, and those are just the major highlights. There's also lots of other stuff going on. And on the drawing boards coming up for ESF, we are reimagining what the library service could be for students. So renovations for Moon Library, whether it's opening up the corner that faces Marshall Hall, or providing a new completely addition to the Moon Library. Those are things that we are thinking and in preparations for a major renovation for the building. Same thing for Illick Hall. That is the next building on the ESF priorities for being hauled for major renovation. Understanding that these projects take up significant amount of time. Marshall Hall has taken about 5 years from implementation, schematic design, phasing to completion. Illick Hall is projected to take 5 to 8 years from beginning to end. And we're talking about from getting funding, designing it to implementation and occupancy. We're also in the process of designing a stadium place renovations and additions. This is kind of like the gateway of ESF through the parking lot. You could call it like the backyard or the front yard, depending how you're accessing campus. But it's an area that really needs some accessibility. So we will be providing a small little building that will provide an elevator, a vertical stairway, and a waiting area for students when they're trying to gather on the bus there. So that's coming up. So that's on the works as well. We are also working in the Ranger School in the Wanakina campus. We're providing single-use bathrooms. So all of the bathrooms in Wanakina will get remodeled. We're also providing hydration stations within that building as well. So here's a floor plan. You can kind of see the single occupant bathrooms. So again, if you think about like in the well scheme, you can think about how this creates inclusivity, providing, gender neutral bathrooms and creating more privacy for the students that are living there, water efficiency with the toilets and the hydration stations as well. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. So just let me know how the slides are going to work.
I'm going to do that for you.
Okay, thank you. So just a quick introduction. My name is Michael. I am the new energy manager on campus. I've been on campus only about 6 or 7 weeks, but I am an ESF alumni, and I'm super excited to be back. When I was a student here, I was heavily involved in GCI, and it's great to see all the motivated students that are at this event doing and carrying on some of the same traditions, waste audits, energy audits, that we were doing back then, composting and expanding composting accessibility. So I'm really excited to be back, really excited to be a part of this core team here. When I was a student here, we didn't have the sustainability division. So everyone from Mark, Delaney, Sue, myself, Diana. So it's a great new framework for ESF, great resources for the students. And I'm really looking forward to engaging with everyone and helping make ESF even more sustainable, get us well past that platinum level and beyond for our LEED certification. So just a quick overview of some projects I'm working on since I've been here. One of the biggest things is the gateway lighting. I came on campus within like 2 days, and almost every day thereafter, someone reached out to me, either a student, faculty, or staff, to be like, those gateway lights are on 24/7, and it was an issue on campus, right? So we had an awesome lighting control system from when the building was implemented and commissioned over 10 years ago. But, you know, as technology changes, and old iPhones can attest to this, you have an old smartphone after 8 years, it's pretty much broken. So we needed to reinvest and recommission our lighting system, and that's what we're working on now. So what you'll see here is an image of the software program that we have access to now, or I have access to now, to be able to readjust and reset the schedules for the building. So on both on the first floor and the lower level, we have all the lights back on a schedule. We're waiting for a few new parts to come in, and we're going to then be implementing the second level as well. And we will, again, very shortly, within the next couple of weeks or so, be able to have full control over the lighting and gateway. So we won't have any of those issues anymore. But, you know, that's just an example of one of the energy projects we're working on. Lighting is a big deal. And actually, I'll talk about it a little bit more later in the presentation. So you can go to the next slide. So here is our GHG, which is our greenhouse gas emissions over the past 15 years. So if you're not familiar with greenhouse gas emissions, the way it works is there's 3 scopes. So scope 1 is the light blue on the bottom. That's direct use on campus. So consuming or burning natural gas on campus is considered a scope 1 emissions. Scope 2 is purchased utilities. So purchasing electric from the grid, as well as purchasing steam from Syracuse University would be an example of scope 2 emissions. And scope 3 is the other big part of emissions, that's commuting from our students, faculty, and staff, but also study abroad, sports teams travel, or research conferences. All of those impacts contribute to our carbon footprint, and they all must be accounted for. So what you notice, we have a nice downward trend overall because we're doing a lot of efforts to reduce these emissions. And in particular, if you look around 2015, 2016, you'll see the scope 2 shrinks, the middle blue, and the scope 1 increases. And what that was actually an indication of our gateway system coming online. So we went from buying SU steam, which is very carbon intense in the production of it, and then has to be transmitted from down in up onto our campus, to generating our own steam within the Gateway Combined Heat and Power Plant. So now we'll take a natural gas molecule, we're burning it, but we're making electricity, and then some of the waste heat from that process can then make steam. So the same gas molecule is getting burned, but we're getting both electricity and heat out of it. And that's just one of the examples. Plus our biomass boiler provides a lot of our steam for the cold weather months. So those are some of the big initiatives from heating campus, and you could see it's been contributing to the downward trend in our greenhouse gas emissions. Next slide. So other things are sometimes the less sexy, so to speak, behind the scenes work that we're doing. So this is called, what you see is a picture of as a steam trap. So steam traps, there's dozens of them located throughout campus, and they are critical for any type of steam-based heating system within large buildings and institutions. So if these traps are not regularly maintained, checked, and replaced, we can be literally just wasting steam or really inefficiently heating steam. So it makes sense to go through these facilities. So what we've done is every couple of years we do a thorough investigation of every steam trap on campus, and we find out if any of them have slowly, you know, ESF is over 100 years old, right? Some of our facilities may sometimes seem like they're over 100 years old. So we want to go through and investigate, repair, and update them. And steam traps is a big one. So we go through, update our steam traps, replace the broken parts, and that just greatly increases the efficiency of our steam generation and transmission throughout campus. So we're not just uselessly wasting energy. If we're going to use energy, let's make sure we're getting the heat, getting the cooling out of it. Let's not just waste it. And that's what the example of a steam trap replacement has been. It's an example of a way we're reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. Go to the next slide. The next big one is lighting, right? So this might be a little bit more of a straightforward example, is the retrofitting of getting those big long tubes, fluorescent tubes, and replacing them with LED bulbs. So over the past couple of years, we've been doing a lot of work going through and finding the old bulbs, and when they blow out, instead of replacing it with another fluorescent, which has a shorter lifespan and a higher energy use than an LED bulb, we're trying to make a concerted and concentrated effort to replace those fluorescent bulbs with LED bulbs. And you can see that's a relamping, right? So we're taking out a fluorescent and we're putting in a LED, but we're also delamping. And delamping is great because When I was a student here, we de-lamped Moon. So what does that mean? So if you go in Moon, you'll see a lot of the ballast could have a spot for 2 light bulbs going across it. And you know, we didn't have an energy manager 15 years ago at school, so it was up to the students to help do some of these initiatives. And so we measured the lumens coming off the lights, and we said, you know what, if we were to take 1 bulb out of all of the ballast, so we're reducing our lighting electrical load by 50%, we only dropped our lighting lumen strength by around 30%. So we save 50% electricity, only lost about 20 to 30% of the lighting strengths, which still met the mandates. So any type of building, so it could be a library, a dining hall, a classroom, they all have different requirements for how much light you must provide them. So we were overlighting. That's a big problem, is this overlighting. A lot of times when buildings are brought online, the designers don't really care about efficiency. They're like, we'll ensure the minimum is met. Well, a lot of times they're ensuring the minimum is met plus some. So we went through and we de-lamped and we took out the light bulbs, and it's been awesome. That was back in 2010. So for the past 12 years, Moon has been de-lamped, saving energy, and it's a great project. And you go to the next slide. This was a picture just from a year or two ago, again, involving the students. So this is one of our facility staff here members who went around with the students, and this was removing the fluorescent bulbs and replacing them with the LEDs. So another example, this is in Baker here, of how we're going through trying to save energy. And what's awesome about ESF is really the opportunity to create campus as a living and learning laboratory. The Ranger School in Wanakina, if you look up the history, was literally built by students. The building that is the class they're held in was mainly built by students. So ESF is really awesome in the fact that students can get involved, be involved with the campus, and do things like help us save energy by replacing the lights. Next slide. So we have this great software, this great program called Atrius Building OS. So it allows us to monitor our energy use. And I'm going to do a lot more work distributing these links so they're available to everyone. It's a resource that's somewhat new, but hasn't been maybe as widely promoted as it should be. So what you could see here on the left is, so that's all yan. On the left is our electricity, the middle is steam, and on the right is the water. So you can see over the course of the year what yan is using and for electricity, steam, and water. And it's really amazing to have that type of information and data available at your fingertips to get an understanding for, how much we're using to heat the building, to power the building, to cool the building, and to provide the water necessary for all the fixtures. So after this event, you'll have access to you can always email me or email the sustainability team, and I will gladly send this link out, which is totally interactive. You can download the data and see, exactly how much our campus is using. So we're not trying to hide anything. We're trying to show everyone what we're doing and how much energy we're using. So as part, yeah, exactly. Thank you. So you just saw a graph over time. And what you're seeing now is what's called a heat map. So they can be a little confusing when you first look at it, but what you have to understand is, so going up and down is dates. So at the top of it is March 1st, and at the bottom of it is March 31st. And going from left to right is time. So it's midnight or 12:01 a.m. on the left, going to 11:59 p.m. on the right. And this is what you want to see for a building that is properly following energy efficient guidelines. So the green is a reduction in electrical use, and the yellow, orange, and reds are higher examples of electrical use. So if we saw yellow and red at 2 a.m., it's like, that's us wasting energy. We're heating or cooling spaces that we don't need to be. We're illuminating spaces we don't need to be, because at 2 a.m., hopefully no one is in campus. I know you guys are hard studiers and care about good grades, but you don't need to be pulling all-nighters at 2 a.m. in LA. So yeah, so this is how, so what you're seeing here is how ILIC is following a really good path that starting right at 6 a.m., we have our building HVAC systems set to kick on. So we're not heating and cooling the spaces when there's no one there. 6 a.m. starts, we start the heating, we start the cooling. That's where we go from the dark green to the light yellows. Then 9 a.m., 10 a.m., that's when a lot of classes get going. Professors are coming in, research is happening. So that's where you see the orange and reds. People are firing up projectors, laptops, lab equipment, all of that good stuff. And then 5 o'clock, people are leaving, all the way down to 9 p.m. When we have the system set to turn off. So that's called a heat map. And it doesn't necessarily have to be heating or electrical. You can have a heat map for water. So what it's showing is just, again, yellow and red is a sign of high usage. So Centennial Hall is a little different, right? Because it's a residence hall. It's not an academic building. And, you know, ESF students are really, they're bright kids. And so I was showing this very picture to a group of students, and they picked up on something that I didn't pick up on. So if you notice, kind of in the top middle of the whole heat map, there's this large section of dark green. And, you know, I would ask a question. If anyone wants to offer a guess, if you notice, why is it so dark green right there in early to mid-March? Does everyone know what happened around that time on campus?
Someone said spring break.
Oh, there we go. See, absolutely. That was spring break. And so you could see real time the impact of behavior inside a building, right? So some of the heating and cooling is due to, like, we have to energy use, we have to keep the building at certain temperatures, but a lot of it is also due just to behavior. So when you think about, why am I going to bother turning my lights off or turning my TV off? What difference does it make? I'm leaving on spring break. You have a mini fridge, just leaving it plugged in for a week. But you got to understand, you're not just acting in a silo alone. You know, I'm doing it, Delaney's doing it, Sue, Mark, we're all taking that extra effort, Diana, to unplug our utilities, to drive down our energy use. So I encourage everyone on campus to take that extra step. If you forget to turn your lights off, go back up the steps, turn them off, because I'm doing it too. You're not acting alone in a silo. We're all doing it. And you can see the impact of behavior on our energy use. And Centennial, again, you can see the dark oranges and reds, they're shifted a little bit more in the evening time, because that's when people come home from class, watching movies, you know, whatever you guys do in Centennial in the evening time. So it's just a really cool, this platform is amazing. There's a lot of stuff you can get lost in this. There's looking at all sorts of different data for hours. So I really encourage people to take a look, and hopefully, you know, if you have any questions, I would love to have a meeting with you and answer anything you have. So thank you.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Delaney Demereau. I am the Sustainability Outreach and Engagement Manager here at ESF. Next slide, please.
To get the slide. Okay.
Thanks, Sue. So since this is a new position with the division, I first wanted to go over some of my responsibilities and also the importance of campus engagement, especially within sustainability, since it is such an interdisciplinary field. So this is actually something that a professor told us first day of undergrad in environmental science. And this was related to, you know, research specifically, but I think it relates in any type of work. And that, you know, doing great work is really only the first step. And it's only going to make an impact if people know about it and you engage with the people that, you know, it's intended for, and, you know, the people you're going to engage with. So my responsibilities are to develop and implement sustainability content and programs for the campus. I also assist with sustainability reporting, like the STARS reporting. And then I also help represent ESF at SUNY-wide and state level working groups, committees, and task forces. I help manage our online presence on the ESF website and through our social media. And then I also help supervise and guide student assistants and work with our student clubs. Next slide. So this is an exciting project that actually just went up on the ESF website that I wanted to share with you all, is our sustainability walking tour. It's completely virtual and it highlights our sustainable campus facilities and operations. And I highly encourage you to check it out to learn more about what's kind of happening behind the scenes. Next slide. And what initially kind of got me involved with the sustainability division was the green purchasing. So ESF adopted the green purchasing and break free from plastics policy back in December 2021. Seems like a long time ago, but it was only a few months. And this policy reiterates our commitment to the New York State green purchasing mandates. And it also outlines many of the single-use plastic items that are no longer able to be purchased with state funds for use at the college or at college events. And speaking of events, we do have some green event guidelines on our website. So before you guys put anything together, we highly encourage you to check it out to make any club meeting or larger events more sustainable. And to also help you do that and to help with compliance with the ESF policy, we developed the Green Purchasing Guide, which has live links to products that meet the Green New York purchasing specifications, and also options that, replace single-use plastics on our campus. Next slide, thanks. And looking ahead, something I'm working on right now is the Sustainability Ambassadors Program, which is going to be for faculty and staff peer-to-peer education. So we're hoping to get one ambassador from every department, division, and office on campus who is going to help us communicate, sustainability information to people within, their offices, and then also help implement the Green Office and Green Lab certification programs that we're developing as well. So some student opportunities with the Sustainability Division include the EcoReps program, who are the residential students living in Centennial Hall that teach fellow residents about, sustainable living through education programs and activities. And then starting the fall, we're going to have some more student assistant positions through our outreach assistants and research assistants. So our outreach assistants would help us do things like tabling or doing the trash talking to help people know where to sort each item in our bins. And the research assistants are going to help us identify emerging trends in sustainable programming at higher education institutions in the country. And as you already heard about the student clubs that we work with, also just want to shout out again to GCI and the sustainability team. So some other collaborations we do on campus include with classes, where we work with them to develop, evaluate, and implement sustainable programming for ESF and beyond. And our work also extends beyond just, the ESF campus. Sue and I are both on a variety of task forces and working groups. For example, the elimination of single-use plastics task force for SUNY campuses, where we're helping to identify recyclable, compostable, and reusable alternatives to common items. And then we also worked on the CLCPA draft scoping plan review, which is a SUNY-wide effort to review New York State's greenhouse gas emissions reduction plan. And we focus specifically on waste and industry. And then we're also part of the Green New York procurement, operations, and engagement subcommittees. And I also want to encourage you guys to connect with us, because we have been increasing our, online presence. We are on Facebook and Instagram at ESF Sustainability. So if you want to learn more about what we're doing and keep in touch, find us there. But you can also learn more on the Sustainability at ESF webpage. I believe that is my last slide. So thank you.
Just to be clear, that's not me in the picture. That's Kate, and I'm going to fly through this because I want to get to Sue. She's next, and then we'll open it up to any questions you have. As I said, Kate can't be here. So this is the Center for Sustainable Materials Management. We are fortunate at ESF to have the New York State Center for Sustainable Materials Management located here, the only one of its kind in the country. So you've heard a lot about waste. That is, we've heretofore referred to these things as waste items. They're not waste items, they're materials. They have value, and that's how this center is looking at this. Center has 6 major activity areas, and there's a lot of students, faculty, and others involved at ESF. So like I said, I'm going to fly through this. We could do a whole day-long presentation on this, and I do encourage you to ask more about this if you're interested. But those 6 areas, generally, I'm going to generally outline them. The first is the whole reduction piece of it, or product stewardship, such as extended producer responsibility. We're very actively engaged with that. And we are involved with True, which Sue is going to talk about. The second big one is closed loop responsible purchasing. You just heard from Delaney about our green purchasing guidelines. So you notice the CSMM logo was on the bottom of that. So that was a collaborative effort as well. Market development. This is the whole reason the center was created, because the recyclable markets in the United States were kind of going away, and there's a whole story behind that. So New York State wanted to invest some money to figure out how do we bring some of these markets back, because recycling is not just you putting it in a bin, it's that it's going somewhere and being made into something else. That's usually some type of industrial process, and those are being reduced for a whole host of reasons. Outreach and education, the whole recyclerightnewyork.org effort. This is a campaign across New York State, which was run by the state of New York. We now own that. We now control that through our subcontract with Syracuse University. Great partnership there. And you see some other things they're doing. And then research. We have two major efforts here at ESF. Composting with Doug Daly. Some of you may be involved with that, looking at unique items to compost, and conversion in our chemical engineering department. A number of people involved there in looking at the conversion of waste paper fibers into new materials. So that was like really flying through that. There's a lot more to talk about, but again, I want to give Sue some time. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. Sue Fassler. I'm the Director of Sustainable Operations at ESF and an undergrad and graduate alum. I'm going to talk to you about zero waste and sustainable operations quickly so we can leave some time for dialogue and questions if people would like. So what is zero waste? That's a long story, but it's so much more than recycling. We are inherently trying to change our linear economy, which is make waste is extractive, and trying to make it more circular. We want to live in a world where there is no waste. Materials have value and they are constantly recirculated throughout our economy. ESF has really unique zero waste goals. The first one is more traditional. We want to divert 90% of what we produce on campus from landfill and incineration by 2025. So this means we want to recycle or compost 90% of the materials that we discard from campus. That's what most colleges and universities do if they have zero waste goals. We also want to reduce the waste we are producing, period, by 90%. That is what we're really, really after. That is the crux and what is very important. Prior to a huge push to standardize a bunch of bins on campus, which I'll talk about in a second, we're in the world of 2019. Our campus-wide diversion rate was a paltry 24.5%. And that was across the Syracuse campus and the regional campuses. The national average was 35%. This was not anything that folks at ESF were proud of. Our students demanded more, very, very rightfully so. So what did we do? We started to rethink everything, and we recognized that true holistic systems change is needed. That's a whole nother presentation for a different day. I oftentimes give them to classes, so that's the plug. If you want to hear more about this, invite myself or other sustainability team members to talk in your class or to your club. Basically what we did is we standardized corridor and office bins, trash, recycling, compost. We added compost, and the impact was immediately obvious. If you look at ESF's aggregate data, you see that baseline year of a 24.5% diversion rate, we had an uptick. So really luckily, our New York State reporting year just so happened to encompass a full year of data pre-COVID. So this is pre-COVID data showing that we improved our diversion rate campus-wide to 48%, just from standardizing bins, adding education materials, and adding composting. That's our low-hanging fruit. We have to do a lot more re-education now that we've had this 2-year COVID pause where a lot of campus norms have been altered. So rest assured in the fall, we'll be out there really re-educating, but there's so much work to do beyond this low-hanging fruit. We have made a lot of progress despite COVID. These are just a few things. You heard about the break free from plastic policy from Delaney and the associated guide. We also, and I want to give a huge shout out and thanks to the facilities department. Hopefully Pete's still online. We have Brian here. They've really embraced our sustainable facilities maintenance and renovation policy. So this is taking a look at our construction and demolition debris. How do we really try to segment this out and recycle it properly? That's something we're incorporating into our contract documents as well and holding the folks we work with on an external basis to account. We also have added battery, electronics, and toner collection to every floor of every building. We've got some really nice educational stickers on there, so be sure to take a gander at those to make sure you're putting things in the right bin. Centennial Hall. This is so exciting. For years, students have been asking for composting, and this semester they added it. So now students can have access to compost bins on every floor in the trash room. And we also collectively work together to redesign their signage. So you'll see on the lower right-hand corner, a sample of now, these are big, big posters, half the size of me, hanging on the wall. So you really have to try to recycle, compost, or discard something improperly. That's the goal. We heard about the move out program. That speaks for itself. It's absolutely phenomenal. And we also did our first ever waste audit in Centennial with the eco reps. So that was 10 of our students. They did a lot of digging and sorting through the trash, and we're recycling pretty well in Centennial. We have a contamination rate of less than 9%. Composting, the people that are doing it well, less than 1% contamination. The thing we need to focus on is the trash, because we uncovered, I think if I'm remembering correctly, 34% of our trash could have been diverted. Of that, 26% was food waste by weight. So I'm kind of sad but happy, because that's the easy stuff to message. It's pretty easy to say, hey, food, compost. So that's something that the eco reps now know they can hone in on in the future. We also have plastic-free beverage vending machines. Sachi talked about the free menstrual cups and pads. Huge shout out to Trailhead and James and all of that staff. They embraced reusable containers, as did Newcomb in the Ranger School. When they saw that we did this at Syracuse, I love when someone knocks on our sustainability door and says, how do we do something similar? How can you help us kind of with some technical assistance, some troubleshooting, maybe some funding? I'm always happy to help shake the money tree with Mark's help. So we were able to help give reusable containers to the Ranger School. We're going to be refreshing the reusable container program at Trailhead, which I will talk about in a moment. And just this week, should be done by the end of the week, we're doing our second push to standardize office bins, because it's been 2 or 3 years since we did that. Things shuffle and change. And we're adding educational signage to every office trash and recycling bin as well. And we did a really cool hardcover book recycling. So I have a little guessing game for everyone. Big thanks to the library staff. You guys can't answer because Sachi and Lauren saw this yesterday. So shout out to the library staff. They did a huge clean out of Moon. And this is the power of data, because, you know, I hawk our monthly trash data. I love getting it. So I asked the grounds crew, why is it in the middle of COVID, in the middle of summer, we're seeing a huge spike in what we're throwing away? Why is this weight kind of so out of whack? And they said, well, we can't recycle hardcover books, so we have to throw them away. So I was like, okay, we're going to store these books in big boxes and find a way to recycle them. I called all of the local counties in our area. No one could take these books. It's really labor intensive and just a really difficult process. But eventually I found a company in Buffalo that can recycle them. Better yet, they could send us a semi truck for $220 to pick up all our hardcover books. So does anyone have a guess how many pounds of hardcover books we recycled and saved from the landfill this summer? One guess. It's more than you'll think. I'll give you that hint. Yeah. 1,200 pounds. Happy to report 27,355 pounds. So this is why you question things. This is part of that systems change. We want to change how we've traditionally been doing things. So thank you to Hannah Paper, the grounds crew, the library for making this possible. Getting close to wrapping up here, but what's next for zero waste? We're going to re-educate and re-engage like we talked about. We're going to relaunch our reusable container program. All the containers are going to be free for everyone, with the understanding and hope that the ESF campus community will not steal them or take them home, and they will stay on our campus, because we want to provide this for free to people. It's really important to be accessible. And we're also going to create campus external drop spots, 4 or 5 of them throughout campus. So students, you won't have to come to Gateway to return them, and faculty and staff. We're also big one tackling surplus property at the campus and state level. Another long story. Basically right now at the end of a product's life, after it goes through this very convoluted process, if it can't be reused at a state agency or sold to the public, the only option is to landfill it, even if it has useful life left. It's a travesty. So we're working on multiple levels to try to change this statewide through changing the state finance law. We're also working with TRUE, the organization that Mark mentioned, to try to get pre-certified. So this is a third-party verification of our zero waste efforts, and we'll eventually create a zero waste action plan. Check out our website, as Delaney mentioned. We've also got green cleaning up and going at all of our campuses. We have new EV charging stations. We have 18 charge ports and 18 charge ports with 18 spaces. We are becoming B Campus USA certified, really doing a push for native pollinators. Shout out to Molly Jacobson for leading this effort. And like I mentioned, we do a lot of presentations, so help us spread the word and invite us to talk to your classes. And we were active at a very high level. Delaney mentioned our plastics elimination group. I'm also co-leading my union UUP's Environmental Issues and Advocacy Committee. Justin Heavey, my colleague, is also a member. And we are setting the 2022 UUP statewide environmental legislative agenda. We should have a really exciting update in the next week or two, but this is really, really, it's the most exciting thing I think I've ever been a part of. And that's saying a lot because I get excited about everything. So now it's your chance to also get excited. At ESF next Tuesday, we're hosting at 4 p.m. a public comment hearing for the CLCPA, the state's greenhouse gas reduction plan. You do have to pre-register online if you want to get that prime spot and maybe not have to talk, wait later. There will be a campus communication going out with links to pre-register, so stay tuned for that. And now, I know we went a little long, but there's just so many good things happening. And it's just, I'm unspeakably proud to work with every single person. So now if there is discussion, Delaney has queued up a notes document for us so we can show how much we are listening and that we will try our best to enact whatever recommendations people have. So Mark.
There's only a few people here, but and there's like 4 online. I am just so proud of all of you and Michael and Delaney online. That was amazing. If for those of you here, do you agree that that's amazing? It is just so awe-inspiring. So it's exciting to see where we've come and kind of just putting it all together too, because a lot of this has been happening over the years. But yeah, so you want me to do this? You want me to facilitate any kind of? I know we were going to come up here, but do you want us to? For like 4 people? Anybody have any questions, suggestions, or anything? Yeah. Sure, no problem. Okay, so I'm going to ask Sue to maybe address that on the material side. Michael, are you still there?
Yep, I couldn't hear the question
Yeah,
too much, but yes, I am here.
Sure. So basically the question was from the audience, other than the data that we've already kind of put out there, are there any other forms of data, or even more importantly, data trends that we've seen that we didn't kind of talk about yet today in the area of sustainability? So I'm going to let Sue go first, Michael, and then you think about it if there's anything from your area.
Love this question. I love data. So the first one that comes to my mind is we just started being able to get waste data tracking from Centen for trash and recycling. So I noticed, I was looking at all this data. I was like, why during COVID is Centennial Hall producing more trash combined than the ESF campus and the Ranger School? I was like, that doesn't make sense. There's like 2/3 occupancy. It's one building, like something's going on. So we started asking questions, and this is no fault of Centennial Hall staff, no fault of students. The pandemic was unprecedented. Even if we had a plan, it might have blown up and not gone as we thought. But when a lot of students moved out, a lot of things were left behind. They weren't donated, they were thrown away. So that tells us now, if we have another instance where students have to move out en masse, where something disrupts our campus flow, we need to have something like a move out program, some policy or procedure contacts in place to take a moment to pause and say, how can we do this the sustainable way, even in a crisis? One thing that we did was the Trailhead Cafe kept in-person dining, reusable plates and everything through the pandemic. That's something that we thought of. We didn't necessarily think of the dorm, for instance. So that's one other thing that the data showed me, the need for prior planning. And just having the data is, I think, what made me be able to leverage my ask for a lot of bins on campus, because it's no secret, sometimes ESF, it's hard to fight for funding when everyone's fighting for funding. But because starting in 2019, we were able to get this trash data, which Mark in the business office and others helped to negotiate with finding a new hauler that could give us actual weight. I could bring that and say, if we can reduce our trash from 5-day-a-week pickup to 3-day-a-week pickup, we're going to save $1,200 a month. With that, it will be X amount over the years. This is how we can pay to add compost service and new standardized bins. I wouldn't have been able to make that argument without the data. So that's two things that come to my mind. I think you are spot on. And the first time I ever presented to academic governance, talking about like, why am I here? What is zero waste? What are we trying to do? I knew my framing. This is a science institution. I'm going to be data heavy. I'll never forget. Mark gave me the feedback that he got from someone in the audience that said, Sue knows her audience. She talked about the data. I'm going to get behind this program because it's transparent. That's real data. And that's my big critique of the state. I'll go off my soapbox now. There's a lot of good stuff in their Green New York report, but a lot of it is hidden and masked by data that looks really good. But if you parse back and pull back between the layers, you can see the nuance in the story. There's a lot of good things happening, but the data, you can peel back the layers. And it is publicly available. I've asked for it, I've gotten it, but you're spot on.
Michael, while you're thinking about it, I also wanted to offer the opportunity for anybody else, GCI, sustainability team, if there's any data, you know, from your view that you think we didn't talk about. Mike, and then I have one more after Michael's done. Michael?
Yeah, great question. I think one of the biggest things that I've really been diving into with the data is looking at our combined heat and power plant underneath Gateway and analyzing, you know, how efficient is it? Like, not just like how much are we burning, but like really you have to take into account the transmission and distribution of these heats, and then both the transmission of that heat energy from the steam that it's being generated from into the building itself, and then into a hot water or glycol loop that's going into up into the individual classrooms. So a lot of it's a lot of data, and we're really just diving into it. You know, the system, it took a couple of years to get online, took another couple of years to kind of develop the optimization process that we're running now. And the real big focus that I've been spending on is, all right, now let's look at the past 10 years of data and really do a deep dive into what are our true costs and where can we improve some efficiencies? Can we run the biomass boiler a little bit longer? Can we look at doing more heat recovery from a waste steam source? So that's really some of the big data sources that I've been analyzing, is mainly revolving around the combined heat and power plant. And another example too would be energy use per square foot. So we saw those heat maps that I showed earlier, which shows relative to the building itself, right? Illic was yellow and orange in the middle and green on the ends. But what about when you compare the energy use on a per square foot, both to other buildings on campus and other types of buildings, right? So academic versus labs versus dormitories throughout the nation. So that's another big thing we want to look at, is standardizing our energy use per square foot and comparing ourselves to other institutions.
Great, thank you, Michael. Anybody else from our team want to talk about that? So you weren't here in the beginning, right? So you didn't hear me talk about stars. So we can get you access to our stars reporting tool as well, so you can observe that. That is very data heavy. I mean, they're looking for data for us to justify what we say about what we're doing. This gets to the whole greenwashing thing, you know, making sure that you can back up what you're saying. And I'll bring up one other that is kind of, I don't think we would think about, but we are having a difficult time, and it might be due to COVID, in documenting the amount of service hours that our students are involved in. That's another one I'm very concerned about. We know we are we tout the fact that we are a service-oriented institution. We go do service in the city and elsewhere. We have not had a good mechanism to really capture those hours. Now, I think there is a new program that we did buy in student affairs. I think, yes, Engage, right? So Engage is going to help us do that. But that's going to be important to see that data, to see what really we're doing in the area of service, because it might be a little shocking, actually. You know, it might not be as much as we think. But that's just another one that came to mind. Anything else? Sachi, were you going to say something? Sure. Wait a minute, you're a panel member. You can't ask a question. No, I'm just. Okay, Sue's can you repeat the question too for the ones that are online?
Yes, Sachi is wondering if we are going to implement or incorporate some recycling and zero waste education into orientation because recycling is confusing. Absolutely. I've actually already reached out to Amelia to say, hey, how can we incorporate sustainability more fully into orientation? Understanding it's a very packed schedule. Also, so many students get so much information at orientation at one time. We've already talked to Megan Catalano at Centennial Hall to say maybe another good avenue would be to get to these floor meetings. Give us a little 30-45 minute chunk of time at a floor meeting while the students have to kind of go anyway, get to know their RAs because they'll be a little bit more calm then a little bit more settled. So we're hoping to do that. And then as Delaney mentioned, we're really going to up the number of students we hire in the division. So instead of having 1 or 2 students working 15-20 hours a week, we're going to hire 6 who are going to be working 4 to 6 hours a week out and about on campus doing a lot more face-to-face engagement. Because yeah, we're hearing from students that's what they want. It's fun for student employees to do that. But yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be the big focus for the fall. And if you have ideas, I definitely want to hear all of your ideas. Sachi. It's a little awkward to have to do recycling workshops and professors. That's a good point. I want to capture that for Delaney. So also a need to educate, sorry to cut you off, staff and faculty as well, and not forget about them because a lot of people think they know what they're doing, but probably don't know how to recycle. And we also have like the video like from the exercise, if you made a stick aside. Yes. I love that idea. So yesterday at Sachi's event, someone from Okra did a live sorting and kind of Q&A and game. We can snip that from the recording and put it on our sustainability website. I love that. So Delaney, Michael, and I are doing a website update blitz the second week of May, where we've already done one refresh. We're doing another one. So we'll add that then. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yep.
This is also going to be for you because it's about the hardcover book thing. Have you looked into working with Syracuse University with that? Because they probably have more funding, but they also have a ton more libraries and just a larger volume of books.
That's amazing. That's a great idea. So I actually was just emailing last week. I owe her a response, Melissa, the Syracuse sustainability lead, to say, hey, we have some new staff members on board. We haven't talked in a while. Let's get together sometime this summer to talk about our successes, your successes, where we both might mutually need some help. That's one to bring up.
You know,
Thank you.
that brings up a bigger issue too. I've always envisioned that we should have a more of like a cohesive Hill initiative on sustainability. It shouldn't just be ESF. If we did it with all the institutions on the Hill, imagine how powerful that would be. I talked to President Mahoney about that this morning, and she's going to talk to the Chancellor Severud about this because there's so much that we can help them with, and there's things they're doing that can help us with as well. But particularly around the energy area too. So in fact, her son is going to Syracuse University and works in the sustainability office with Melissa. So we've got an in so we can do this. Yep.
I love that idea.
Anything else? Anybody? Sachi? Yeah, that's okay. It's good. Because this is all being recorded. So. Yeah, so the question Sachi asked, Michael, this is for you, and it's also, I want Diana to be aware of this as well. You're right that most of the student kind of employees and interns that I've had since I've been here have focused, for the most part, mostly on materials. It's just because it's the most obvious thing, you know, but we have had students working on energy. We've got a sustainable energy management program. We ought to be tapping into that. And so we have. So Michael, I very much encourage that. Diana, I very much encourage that. There's funding that we can use. Creating opportunities for students on all these other sustainability initiatives is really important for us. Yeah, Michael can talk about the energy intern you just hired. I want to say one more thing though, before Michael, I have you do that. You saw Savannah Wright's picture on there earlier. I just brought her on as a student employee, and she's going to be working on some unique sustainable design concepts. Diana, I still need to talk to you about this because it relates to buildings. But that's one that we haven't done before. It's like using our landscape architect students and what they can do for us. Michael, can you talk about, and then Lexi, Michael, can you talk about the intern you're bringing on?
Yeah, well, Olivia is present in the audience right there. I could see her right. So absolutely, and it's been great to work with her. And after I'm done, if Olivia, you want to say a word or two, you're more than welcome to. But and that's absolutely right. Getting students involved to get an understanding of their campus energy, I think, is so important. I think for too long it's just been kind of behind the scenes, employee driven, kind of business office. It's like, no, let's engage our students both to show them what we're actually using, what it costs us, right? We're a public institution, tuition dollars pay everything. We work for the students, and let's show them what we're paying to heat and cool our campus and what we're doing to try to reduce those costs, and what are kind of payback periods for projects. Why are we doing this project versus the other project? And how that all relates and ties together. And 100%, I'm, like I said, I just started, but I'm very excited to get more students involved.
And I'm going to turn to Lexi here, but Lexi is a good example too. And the whole well building area. So that's another one that we were able to secure student help, and Lexi's going to stay on with us after graduation. But Savannah, going back to Savannah, landscape architect, one of the first reasons I talked to her, she's really interested in taking her studies of landscape architecture and trying to apply that towards mental health issues. And I was like, oh my God, you need to work with Lexi on the well building stuff. So Lexi, did you want to say something? Okay. Something. Something. We okay? Or? Okay.
There we go. Yeah, I'll just mention that with the well, there's an option called the well practicum, which is very similar to the lead labs course that is, I think, still being offered, if not was at one point offered here. So that's something that I'm going to look into bringing to ESF as well. So students will have the opportunity to take that class and engage with the well work that I'll be doing. And I plan on engaging the community anyways, because that's kind of what the whole point of well is to have the community together. But there's the well practicum, and there's also graduate student opportunities for research there as well, which is exciting.
Same thing with like the work that Dr. Cabela has been doing, like all of those things. I prefer to be a real life example.
I can still control whether you get your diploma or not. Because I think we need to keep you on here for a while. Those are great ideas. Diana's going to come up while you're walking up here, Diana. I would like to hire more students to help on the social equity side too. So this is working with our IDE office, IDE. I think there's a lot more we need to do there, environmental justice related issues. So please help me with that too. If you can figure out ways that there could be like a job related to that, I'm totally open.
So I just wanted to mention from the facilities side, we have hired interns in the past, students to work in the facilities department. And usually these students are either from like landscape architecture or construction management, sustainable construction, but there is so many possibilities within facilities as well. So like, for example, like if you're thinking from the sustainability kind of sphere, like for example, Marshall is getting LEED certification, so like anything that can help with like the LEED rating. And now that we're working towards the well portfolio, Lexi will be part of that. But even like moving forward, right? Like all of these opportunities are still there. So facilities focuses, on buildings, but all of those buildings are inherent. There's also a level of sustainability aspect to that. So.
Oh, yeah.
Accessibility, yeah, I was putting that one word. But it would be interesting to have a collaboration with that department of facilities
That's great. So for those of you online, Sachi was mentioning that the accessibility, the issues like pushing the button that opens the doors for the buildings and doing a walkthrough and having people from facilities and sustainability and others, IDE, look at that. And I think that would then lead to some recommendations for improvements. And don't get me going on the elevators too. That's the other one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, so signage specifically for international students and others. I'm sure. Yeah. Brian's been here for a while. He's nodding his head yes. So I think that I remember that too. Yeah. And Sachi, you reminded me, Paul Cravella, he is for a long time involved students, his classes and others, and we didn't even mention this, but they just finished the lead operation and maintenance certification process for Baker, and that was really student driven. Anything else? Anybody? Yeah. Now I know why you were here the whole time.
I just noticed for the Marshall Hall renovation, the walkway that's going up to there in gray, this is another accessibility issue. The entrances from that level in gray, I'm pretty sure all of them you have to go upstairs. So even if like you get to that level for the entrance, like if you say you try to go on the side door of Marshall, you get in the middle of two landings. So I don't know if that was like meant to be an accessible entrance or just like a connection between the buildings, but that might be a concern. That's just kind of thinking off the top of my head.
So I'll address the accessibility because there's two things that you can have access to. So ESF has a facilities master plan, and in there they address a lot of our accessibility issues. So yes, there is a lot of accessibility issues on campus, as in many parts of the country and the world, because accessibility really became a law like in the 80s. So the campus is way older than that, so that's like an ongoing process. But these facilities report, the master plan really addresses, and then points to areas on campus. And actually, part of my presentation was going to be that, but it was only 5 minutes, so I wanted to keep it short. But for example, if you think the area between Illick Hall and Bray, the whole accessibility area, that is a project that we need to do to make that area accessible. The area that we are going to be working on, Stadium Place, that is another accessibility point. There's stairs. There's no way to get up there besides the stairs. So we'll be addressing that soon. Another pinch point here between Moon Library, Marshall, and Gateway, right here behind us, that is another accessibility issue. So Marshall will address partially that. So in the renderings, you see there's this kind of like zigzag ramp that takes you up. That is mainly to address Marshall. You really want to address Moon at the same time. So that's kind of that. So, yeah.
Right. So with Stadium Place building, and we have renditions of that we can share. Let's look forward to when that's done. So that brings you up from Centennial and all the parking lots up to that level that you, from an accessibility standpoint, you can either go through Baker or you can go right on that sidewalk. You go into Baker or Yon, you take the elevator up, you're now up at this level. That new sidewalk that Diana's talking about in between Moon and Marshall is at a grade that wheelchairs can go up that, and you can get into the side of Moon and you can get into Marshall. If you get into Marshall, you can take the elevator to the second floor, go over the new bridge that's going to be there. That's going to get you into the Bray parking lot. From that point, there's still issues with getting into Bray. There's still accessibility issues. There's still a couple little places, but I think they're fixable. We can do something in the interim. And you can get the Walters there as well. Diana's mentioning Illick over here. You might think that's all accessible. The sidewalk that goes all the way up Forestry Drive to Bray, the sidewalk that comes up the quad on that side, the grade is too steep. So it does not meet accessibility requirements. So that's another area we've got to deal with. We've got really cool plans that have been developed for a revamp of the quad. There's a lot of them out there. There's been no decision on that, but in that process, we could make Bray much more accessible, totally revamp all of that. So cool things on the horizon. Yeah. No, don't. No, it's cool.
I know that like ever since I've been at ESF, I've been trying to get as many students involved with this disease as possible. And I know that by hosting like or by like funding events or just like so for the Office of Sustainability, is the State of Sustainability Day during annual event or hopefully towards the beginning of at least like
Yeah, so Sachi's question was kind of, so OIDE has done a really great job in engaging students because they have consistent programming throughout the semester. And will State of Sustainability happen every year? If so, will it happen earlier? So yes, this is our second year doing State of Sustainability. We're hoping to make this, everyone can expect it, the State of Sustainability during Earth Week forevermore. That's the power of having Delaney's position filled. We really feel strongly that to have sustainability fly on campus, it takes everyone here, but it takes targeted full-time employees. So you have me focusing on waste, Michael focusing on energy, Delaney focusing on education and engagement, triple-pronged approach. That's something we're also trying to scale up to every SUNY campus. That's something through my work with the union that we're trying to make that a mandate for every SUNY campus. So absolutely, Delaney started with us in January, spending so much time this summer, really getting this engagement calendar, which already a lot of it has been created, up and running. Because yeah, we want to mirror that model. We want to hire more students. That's what OIDE does really, really well too. And we want to have events that draw people in. But that also is a two-way street. As you see, it's hard to get people to come to events. Even I've talked with some folks at OIDE, it's hard to get people at events, plain and simple. You put all this energy into something. And so we're kind of passing each other, ships in the night. We have to figure out the sweet spot of what do students want? How do we engage with them? How do we get people coming back? So yes, we will definitely have a lot more programs and we'll fine tune it to see what exactly works to get students here. Maybe food. You had a great turnout yesterday, so maybe food's the answer.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. I'm glad we did this. I feel very good about this. And I've been in situations in my life where I've done massive presentations to one person in the audience. It's really hard to motivate yourself to do that, but you have to give that person as much energy as you would if the room was filled. So the 900-pound elephant in the room that's not here is there's no faculty here. There's a limited amount of staff members here. So there's some students here. So we have to figure this out. We could offer pizza and really spread the word, but really you want people to come to this because we're talking about sustainability, not because there's food. So this is a challenge for all of us. How do we do that? Now we're not really competing. Usually you end up competing against some other like tie-dye. God, if I'm ever on an Earth Week schedule and I'm competing against tie-dye, forget it. I'm not going to have anybody show up, but I don't think we're competing against anything at this very moment. So yeah. Yeah, true. Anything else? Okay. Thank you for being here. Thank you for those still online hanging with us. And for those of us here, there's plenty of junk food back there. Thanks, everybody.